Hey everyone, it is Saturday, so that means a random topic Saturday video. My last random topic Saturday video, I posted the question to you guys on what my next video should be, and I got a comment from Odd Job Odd Jobs Musings, and his comment was, great video. My idea for a random Saturday video is sharing your thoughts and experience about your stay at the hospital. So thank you. I'm pretty sure your name is Tim. If I don't have that right, please feel free to correct me in the comments down below. But that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to talk about my most recent trip to hospital and how it affected me and how I, in a way, dealt with my stay down there. So it was I'm pretty sure it was the end of April of this year. I was going down to go and sort things out with my ex, and I was very shook up about the whole entire experience. And after he left, by the way, this is all taking place down in Sydney. This is taking place down in Hornsby out the front of Westfield. After he left, I kind of broke down out the front of the shopping centre. I started crying. I became very... I don't even know how you describe it. It was very, in a way, traumatic kind of a thing. Well, that's how it felt. It was a very traumatic experience for me. And little had I known that people had called the police to come and check up on me, but I also had called the police as well because I didn't feel safe enough to go from the shopping centre to the train station to then catch a train 2 hours north back here. I wasn't in the right headspace to do that. So the police came. They did a bag search and just to make sure they didn't have any sharp objects on myself, and then they took me to Hornsby Hospital. When I arrived at Hornsby Hospital, they did a full observations check, so to check if I was dehydrated, if my sugar count was low, how my heart was working. Also, they did a quick scan of my brain to see what was going on, and then they didn't have any room for me at that hospital, so they then transferred me down to the Royal North Shore Hospital down in, I think it's St Leonard's. I was admitted into the Psychological Emergency Care Centre, and pretty much it's a ward. It kind of feels like you're in lockdown when you're there. You're not allowed to go out of the ward. They wake you up at a certain time and you all have to go and sit out in the general meeting area and you meet up with doctors and all that kind of stuff. I was admitted into that probably about at 11 at night, and I had to go through a whole list of symptoms and things that I was experiencing so they could help treat me. And so after I was admitted in, I was assigned my own room. All of my belongings were taken off me. My clothes were taken off me. My hood, like my jumper that I had on, the strings were removed from that. They pretty much removed any object that I could use to self-harm myself with. And so the reason why they took away the strings out of my hood and also my shoelaces were because they had the feeling that I could have hung myself with those. On what, I don't know, but yeah. First day of being in the Psychological Emergency Care Centre, it was interesting seeing the other people that were in there. There were people who were my age, and there were some people who were actually a lot older than me. I was 18 at the time. There was a girl who was in there who was 16, and she'd actually been in there for 2 weeks. She was not dealing well at all with anything. And then there was an older guy who was in there. He was probably in his 30s or 40s, and he was schizophrenic in a real bad way. And there were a few other people that I didn't really associate with. Well, I didn't really associate with anyone. I wasn't in the headspace to really talk to anyone about what I was going through. My first day in there, I had a doctor come around to see me. He was a psychologist, and we pretty much went through the situation of how I ended up being taken to Royal North Shore. The only thoughts that were really going through my head at that time were, what's the point of being alive? I don't want to have to live through this anymore. In a way, you could say I was heartbroken, and that was causing me to feel like that. People can't really say that you can die of a broken heart, but I honestly believe that you can. Then you were kind of given time to do whatever you really wanted. You were able to watch the TV, there were magazines there. There was a little courtyard that had 3-4 meter high walls in it and didn't get much sun. You were provided food as per usual in any hospital. I don't know, it just, in a way, it kind of gave you more of the opportunity to think about things when there was nothing really else going on in there. But it was really hard to sleep at night there. The first night that I was in there, I was constantly being woken up by the 16-year-old girl who was she was screaming every single night. She would scream for hours and hours and cry for hours and hours. But he started to drown it out after a while. And I don't know, you kind of go into a shell and not really come out of it. The second night that I was there, I wasn't sleeping, and the nurse that was on asked if I wanted some sleeping pills to help me sleep, and I said yes. So I had sleeping pills to help me sleep, and then I was getting up at about 5:30 in the morning and being awake and just lying in bed. I remember the second day I spent most of the day just crying in my room. But they were silent tears. They were just streaming, but I wasn't making any sound. Still, then I had the thoughts going through my head of, what's the point? I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be alive. There's no point in going on. That's when the doctors called my mum to let her know where I was, to let her know that I was safe. So she came down from Newcastle to the hospital to see me. I was very distant when she arrived. I didn't really interact much. Like, she asked, how I was, and I kind of really wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't give her like a solid answer. The third day, I spoke to the doctors again. It was the exact same. Yeah, I had the sleeping pills. My mum came back up, and then the fourth day that I was there was a Friday. So I think I went in on the Tuesday. I went in on the Tuesday night. I had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The Thursday, which was my second full day there, I had a full-blown meeting with an actual doctor, a psychologist and a psychiatrist, and one of the nurses. And that was when borderline personality disorder was brought up, because before that meeting I had a sit down with the psychologist and the doctor, and they went through a series of questions, and I had to fill out a piece of paper with the symptoms and things in life that I've been through. And that's when the query of borderline personality disorder came up. And then later on that afternoon, in that second meeting, we discussed what I had written down, and they had established that it was borderline personality disorder. And then Mum got called on the Friday to come and take me home, but that was only if I felt as though I was ready to leave. Over even on the Friday, I was still quite closed off, even when Mum had arrived to come and take me home. And then what had happened is they called the doctor and the psychologist back. I think it was actually mainly the psychologist that came back and got me up and talking and ready to go home. I was starting to feel a little bit better, but I was still pretty shaken up about what had happened. And then I caught the train home with Mum after going and having something to eat. It was a hard thing to have to do, to spend so long in an not an institute, but in pretty much a lockdown ward for the way I was feeling. I honestly do wish that I never have to go back into a ward like that. I'm glad that I went down there though, otherwise I wouldn't have been diagnosed, and still things would have been left unanswered, and we wouldn't really have an understanding of how to treat what it is I'm going through. It's one of those things that you don't want to have to bring up unless it's necessary, because it is a fairly bit of it is a traumatic experience for anyone to have to go through that. But I look at it now, and in a way I kind of thank myself for going through with it all, and being able to find out what is wrong with me. And if it wasn't for that experience, I wouldn't be getting the help that I need so badly. I don't know, it's just a hard topic to really talk about in full, because when I was in there, I just wasn't myself. I was a shell. I was just a body. I didn't really, I'm a firm believer in people, and they have a soul and they have a spirit. I was a body without a soul then. I was a body without a personality. I was the shell of that's the easiest way to describe it. I don't really know what else I could say about that experience. I hope this has answered your question, Tim. Yeah, it's one of those topics where you can talk about it, but not in this kind of detail. It brings back bad memories to a certain degree. It probably sounds stupid, but they're kind of memories that I can't forget, and that I don't really want to forget, because they've shaped who I am today. They're helping me become the better person that I want to be. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have found this video somewhat helpful in understanding, especially to you, Tim, in understanding, what it was like being in that hospital and spending time in there and what it was like. If anyone has any ideas for my next, random topic Saturday video, feel free to leave a comment down below, or even inbox me if you don't want to have it posted publicly. To anyone else who has ever been through an experience like that and that they're still around, good job. It's a hard thing to have to deal with, but we push on. Every day is a new day, and that's just what we've got to do. We've just got to push. It may not seem like it's going to be worth it, but who knows what's around the next corner? Who knows if things will get better? No one really does. We just got to hope and pray. Even when all of that energy has been used up and you feel like nothing's going to get better, something will just turn up and make things, work out the way that they should. I'm going to finish this video here, and I hope everyone is having a fabulous day, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye, guys.
This is what I